Okay, so I'm going to start with two sketchbooks I've really been enjoying this month. This one is the Strathmore Mixed Media Sketchbook, the hardback version, and this one is the Pith Oro Blanco sketchbook. They're both new to me. They both measure roughly A4 size, so it's been an interesting challenge because I'm used to working in sketchbooks that are more this kind of size. This is roughly, I guess, A5. This is one of my Royal Talens sketchbooks, which previously I was using for pretty much everything, but I'm experimenting with different sketchbooks at the moment because I'm planning to do much more work in sketchbooks and I want to use lots of different media as well. So I went for this Strathmore Mixed Media one because I'd heard good things about it. And to be honest with you, I was a little bit intimidated to start it. And it was funny actually, because when I opened it up, I looked at this and I was like, well, the paper isn't as thick as I was expecting, and it's this kind of ivory colour. And actually that's just the end paper. So when I opened it up properly, as you can see here, the paper is really white and it's also much thicker than the end papers. I think this is £90 paper, so it's fairly heavyweight for a sketchbook, but it takes the paint really well. So I've only used it for one painting so far, this little bird, which I'm hoping to make into either a print or a postcard or maybe both. I'm going to be working on a series of bird paintings in this sketchbook, but I used the Holbein acrylic gouache for this and it worked really well. You can see there's just minimal buckling, and yeah, I was really impressed with the way it took the paint. It felt really satisfying to work on this paper, and I think it's because it's such nice quality. I like the fact that it's smooth, but it does have a very, very slight texture. For example, it's not as smooth as the Royal Talens Art Creation sketchbook, which always feels super smooth to the point of being not slippery, but just, it doesn't have any real texture, whereas this one does have a little bit. The paper feels really nice. But yeah, I was a little bit intimidated with this sketchbook to begin with. So to break it in, I decided to go to the back and just start swatching some of my materials because I wanted to get a feel for how different materials felt on the surface. It's really nice for coloured pencils. This is my entire coloured pencil collection. Initially, I swatched out all of this group in the top here, and I completely forgot about these. These are my lovely Derwent drawing pencils. I have a tin of, I think it's 24, and I always keep them separate from my other pencils because they came in a lovely tin, and so I kind of forgot to swatch them, but I've added them now, and as you can see, they're gorgeous muted colours. I actually have a separate video all about those pencils, which you can find on my channel, or I'll try to remember to link it in the description below, but I got them in the winter time, and yeah, I really love them. So I swatched the pencils, and then I tried pens, which worked really nicely on it too. These are the Faber-Castell watercolour markers, and this is their artist brush pen, the Pitt pens. And you might have seen my Turner acrylic gouache Japanesque colours. I did a video on those and I swatched those in there, and this paint works really nicely on this paper. Here I was just playing around with a few colour palettes. This is going to be my colour palette page. And I have some Neo colours swatched here, and was just playing around with the Turner gouache paints again. But yeah, that's a good way of breaking in a sketchbook if you're a little bit intimidated. Get a feel for the materials, go to the back of the sketchbook and just work there, and then when you feel ready you can start from the front like I did with that bird. But yeah, really impressed with this sketchbook. Absolutely love it. I can see why it's such a popular one with lots of artists. Apparently they do a soft cover version as well. I'm struggling to find that in the UK. I can find the ones that have the toned paper. It's either like grey or tan toned paper, but I can't find the ones with just the white paper that are exactly like this, but just with a soft cover. So if you can help me with that, that would be great, but I can't find them. So the second sketchbook I'm really loving this month is the pithsupply.com Oro Blanco sketchbook. It has a really sturdy cover. It's very thick card, so it's nice to work on. You could take that out on location and it would be sturdy enough to kind of lean on. It has a really lovely exposed spine. I love that. This cute little label too. And the paper is also gorgeous quality. In this one, I have one drawing in the front at the moment because I only started using it the other day, but I have used it. If you saw, I think this was my last swatching video. I decided to do the same with this one. I basically was a little bit intimidated to start using it because it's so nice, so I decided to swatch in the back. So this was a recent mini haul of art materials. It seemed to like the paint as long as I didn't use too much water. So for example, these two up here, these are both Holbein acrylic gouache, and with this one I just used the paint pretty much straight from the tube. With this one I watered it down a bit and it did make the paper pill a little bit. And this, if you can see that, I hope that's on screen, this little swatch down here, this was one of the watercolour pencils I tried out, and there's a little bit of pilling when I added a lot of water. So I'm kind of thinking that this sketchbook is probably going to be used mostly for dry media, although you could put a layer of paint as long as you're not using too much water. The paper is a little bit more, I would say slightly more ivory. It's not quite as white as the Strathmore mixed media, but it's a similar kind of feel. It's really nice and thick and it has this very, very slight texture. And so this is the piece I started this sketchbook with. This was an image I found on mapcrunch.com. I think it was in Andorra, and it was just really mountainous and beautiful, and I really liked this kind of hill or bank or whatever you want to call it going up from the side of the, this is actually meant to be a road, but I kind of think it looks a little bit like, looks like flowing water or something, so it can be whatever you like, but in reality it was a road. But I really liked this. There were lots of little tufty plants and grasses and things, and so I had a lot of fun layering. I'm going to hold that a bit closer so you can see. Layering the different materials, and it seemed to work really well when I had like a layer of pencil and then added the paint on top. So I used all sorts of different things for this. There's coloured pencil, acrylic gouache, acrylic markers, neo colours. There's a little bit of everything thrown at this, and yeah, I really love this colour palette too. We're going to be having a look at the colour palette I used for this in a little bit. But yeah, really impressed with this sketchbook as well. Thinking of keeping this one possibly just for landscapes, I'm not entirely sure. But yeah, I won't be using it for paint as much as I will the Strathmore mixed media. But two sketchbooks that I'm really loving this past month. So something else I've been really enjoying using in September, I've been getting back into using acrylic gouache paints again. I used to use these for a lot of my work, and then I got into watercolours and traditional gouache, and I've been experimenting with that a bit more this year. But in the past month or so, I've got back into using my acrylic gouache, and I love them. I'm really, really enjoying using them again. As I just mentioned when we were looking through my sketchbooks, I did actually buy some of the Turner acrylic gouache as well, the Japanesque colours, which are the ones that have a gorgeous muted colour range, and also they're slightly textured, so they have a slightly kind of rough texture, which is really nice. I also love the range of colours that the Holbein acrylic gouache comes in. These lovely muted colours like ash green and ash blue, and then we have some really nice pale, almost pastel kind of colours like misty blue, misty green, pale peach. That colour palette, so beautiful. And then some brighter ones like the coral red and it's gorgeous mint green, ice green as well. Pale Lime, that's another gorgeous colour that I got recently. Haven't used that one much yet. Olive, so many different ones. Really nice earthy colours too, and I love their greys. One of the newest greys I have is the Neutral Grey number 4. It's really dark, almost kind of charcoaly type of grey, I suppose you would say, if you use it without watering it down. Yeah, they're just really nice. They're such a pleasure to work with. They're great for layering. I'm going to be featuring these a little bit more on my Patreon, which is going to be launched very soon. I've been working on it behind the scenes. Just have a little bit more to do before I want to launch it. But it should be launching hopefully later this month. So that will be sometime in October. But yeah, I want to show in depth how I use these paints, different colour palettes that work with them, yeah, all of that kind of stuff. So that will be featured on my Patreon. But yeah, I love these paints. I think they're so versatile and I can get lots of really interesting effects with them. So they are definitely worthy of being in my September favourites. Another medium I've really got into using recently after discovering them are these Molotow acrylic paint markers. They do so many gorgeous colours in their range. They're unusual for paint markers because they have a lot of beautiful muted colours, really subtle colours, which are much more my kind of thing. But then they also do these really bright ones as well. So I've got this one, which is Poison Green, and this adds really nice highlights. Like if you're doing landscape in greens, just to add a bit of this really zingy yellow green is so nice. But yeah, I think I have 13 different colours now. I've chosen 7 here to swatch, and looking at this, actually I'm thinking this one is so similar to the paper. I don't know whether it will show up, but these are some of my favourite colours that I have. So I'll swatch these for you and we can have a look at how they actually look on the paper. I'm using the Pith sketchbook to swatch in, by the way. So let's just try this. This is called Nature White. I like to use these, by the way, not necessarily on their own, but actually for layering over coloured pencil and paint and Neocolour. They seem to layer well over everything. So I've really liked using them for that. This one is the Grey Blue Light. Gorgeous grey. The Nature White did show up a little bit actually on the paper. And this one is really one of my favourite colours. This is such a lovely pastel colour. This is called Skin Pastel. They're a little bit scratchy, a tiny bit scratchy on the Pith paper. I think they'd probably be better when used directly on the paper in something like a Royal Talens sketchbook where the paper's very smooth. I think on these types of paper, the types of paper that are in these 2 sketchbooks, they're a little bit scratchy, but they work, as I said, really well if you're layering in pencil first or you're layering in paint. You can use them on the top of those and they're just absolutely fine. But yeah, this will just give you an idea of the gorgeous colours. This one's called Lego Blue Pastel. Beautiful sort of, I would say it's a kind of bluish, greenish grey. Really lovely colour. And this is Amazonas Light. Which one should we do next? I want to do, I think, this Poison Green, because this is really such a wonderful colour. It's not quite as bright as the lid, but I like that. This is the kind of colour I was hoping it would be, just this gorgeous yellow green. And this one's called Future Green, really super dark green. So you see they have a really interesting palette of colours. I'll just hold those up to the screen so you can hopefully see a bit more closely, but you can see it's kind of pilled the paper slightly just using it on this type of paper directly. But yeah, it worked really well when I layered it. But yeah, those colours are absolutely gorgeous. So moving on to pencils, I just wanted to show you a colour palette I'm really enjoying using at the moment. I put this together for this piece here and really liked how it looked. Obviously I mixed it with the Neo Colour crayons and some paint and the not Poscas, what are they called? Molotow markers, the Molotow markers. Yes, I want to show you actually. If I hold this up closely, you can see that I used the Molotow markers to add all of these little details on the top, and it worked really well. It's much less scratchy that way. But yeah, so I put together this palette primarily to do this piece, but I'm going to be using it for other pieces as well. So I'm going to swatch them for you because I think there's some really nice greens and greys in here and they work together well. So let's have a little look at them. So to start, we're using the Faber-Castell Polychromos Earth Green. This is one of my favourite greens. It's very natural. It's on the cooler side because it's kind of like a greyish green. And yeah, just really love having that in my palette because it works so well with slightly warmer greens or brighter greens, as you will see as we go along. I think the next one I'm going to show you is this Willow green. This is the Holbein Artist Coloured Pencil. That's a lovely pale green. Looks so nice with the earth green Polychromos. I just get really inspired. I've said this before, but I get really inspired when I have lots of different greens all together. If I can see them all together, I think they just somehow it makes each colour even better. I don't know why that is, but it just, for me, it just works. So this is the Luminance, the Caran Luminance Moss Green. It's a nice mid-green. Again, very natural looking green. And then I've got this one, it's olive brown, but I mean, it is kind of brown, but it's a very greenish brown. That's a nice sort of earthy colour. Again, very muted. I think it'd be nice, actually, to pop this one in here now. This is a recent purchase, and I'm loving it. It's the Caran Luminance Olive Yellow. So it's kind of similar to the Poison Green Molotow marker. Just not quite as bright as that. So I have a couple more Polychromos here. This one is Deep Cobalt Green. So slightly more bluish green, which works really nicely with the other ones. They're kind of more muted and natural. And then this one is the Juniper Green. I love that name. See, they're all so different. And so what else have we got here? We've got the Holbein Artist Coloured Pencil Fir Green. It's just a little bit more of a bluish green than the Juniper. Then we've got Derwent Lightfast in Pine. That's quite a dark one. Gorgeous dark green. And the Derwent Lightfast Forest. So that's much more of a brownish green. They just make such a nice palette together though, these colours. And so this one is the Green Ochre Luminance. Just add that there. It's almost mustard coloured. And then I think we're on to the blues and greys. So I chose Steel Grey Luminance. Swatch these ones down here. This is a really nice bluish grey, very cold grey. The Payne's Grey 60% Luminance. You can tell I've used that one a lot. It's one of my favourite colours. Again, works with green so well. And then I have the Payne's Grey. So that's darker still. And one of my current favourite dark colours is the Derwent Lightfast Midnight Black. And it's true to its name, it looks like, honestly, the night sky. It's nice when you want something that is a little bit softer than black. So you need a really dark colour, but it's actually just not quite black. It's got that really lovely midnight blue look to it. And this is another favourite. This is dark indigo. This is the Caran Luminance. Now this probably will look black on camera. But again, it's like a really rich, dark midnight kind of colour. So yeah, both of those are great if you don't want to go for a black, but you want something really dark. And then the final two I have here are the Derwent Lightfast Fossil Grey, which is a great name. So this is really soft, warm, kind of pinkish grey. Definitely has pink undertones. And this one, which is the Luminance French Grey 10%. So kind of similar to the Fossil Grey, but just a little bit less pink. And so there you go, that's my coloured pencil palette for September. Going into October, because I'm definitely going to keep using this. You see how they work really well with that selection of Molotow markers as well. So the final art supply I'm sharing this month for my September favourites. They're in this little vintage tin that I bought from an Etsy seller, and it fits them perfectly actually. My Neocolour crayons. So I thought it might be fun just to swatch out the entire selection, because I don't actually have that many. Those of you who've been watching me for a while will know that I bought a load of these, like I think about 32 different colours last August, I think it was, and I just wasn't using them, so I sold them and kept just a few of the colours back, a few of the ones that I was using. And recently I've just added just a few more because I'm really getting into using them again. They're a mix of Neocolour 1 and Neocolour 2. I initially had Neocolour 1, which are the ones that aren't water soluble, but then added to them with the Neocolour 2. So some of these are water soluble, but I'm just going to swatch them dry today. I do have duplicates of some colours, so that's why I'm being a bit cautious in taking these out. Have I got, is that light grey? Yep, I've already got one of those, and I've already got another grey. Let's just get these out. I mean, I don't know how much point there'll be in swatching the white, but let's do it anyway. No, that's not going to show up, is it? But yeah, I have a white, and actually it's one of the most used ones. I like to use this for like knocking back, if I've kind of done something in too much of a heavy-handed way. This is really good for going over the top and kind of blending it out when I'm working in mixed media. So that's why that one is probably my most used. I really love this colour. This is the light grey. So yeah, as I say, the Neocolour ones are the ones that aren't water soluble, whereas Neocolour 2 you can work dry or wet. Okay, which one should we do next? Maybe grey. I have many shades of grey, which won't surprise you. So yeah, again with Neocolour, a little bit in the same way as I use the Molotow markers. This one's dark grey, by the way. I like to just layer with them really. I would never create a piece just in the Neocolour. It just doesn't seem to suit the way I work. So what I usually do is to use them over the top of coloured pencil or use them over the top of paint. They'll go over the top of virtually anything as well. So they're a great thing to have if you're a mixed media artist. So that one is Payne's Grey. If any medium has a Payne's Grey, I have to have it because it's one of my most used colours. Okay, this one is Charcoal Grey. It's virtually black, to be honest. And then we go on to Beige. Oh, that one's got a little bit of green mixed in with it. You'll have to ignore that. See if I can go over it. It's the thing when they all rub against each other in the tin. There we go, that's a really nice beige. And then the few colours I have are, what should we start with? Maybe this dark green. Yes, as I'm just using them to go over the top of other colours, just to add a bit of texture and so on, I don't actually need that many colours. So this one is greenish blue. And then we have this super bright lime green. Ideally, I'd love for this one to be a little bit more like the Poison Green or this, what was it called, Olive Yellow? Is it Olive Yellow? I was hoping it was going to have a little bit more yellow in it, but it's an interesting colour all the same. It definitely would add a pop of colour to whatever you were using it over. I haven't really experimented much with that one yet because I'm a little bit intimidated by it. But it'll be interesting to see how I can incorporate it into my landscapes. So this one is the Salmon, and that's the Neocolour one. And then we have a Neocolour 2 Salmon Pink. Really pretty pink. I love the salmon. I used to have a nail polish that colour and really loved it. That was such a girly thing to say. I do apologise. And then we have the Neocolour 2 in Aubergine. The Neocolour 2 feel actually kind of smoother, a bit silkier, if that's the right word, than the Neocolour one. They're shedding bits everywhere. Just blow those off. And then I'm going to hold this up so that you can see those lovely colours. So yeah, my small collection of Neo colours. It was nice to share those with you, just as something that I've really been enjoying using for my mixed media work. They're back in favour with me. I did kind of struggle with them for a bit because I wasn't sure how I could use them for my work. I tend to be fairly precise. I use quite a lot of detail in my work, and I struggled with these initially because I couldn't get the level of precision that I wanted with them. But then I learned that I just need to use them in a different way. Just use them for rough texture and mark making, and they're just brilliant for that. So yeah, really loving them again. So that's why they're in my September favourites. Anyway, I hope that you enjoyed watching that. I really enjoy filming these videos. They're so much fun to film because it's so nice to share my favourite art supplies with you, and I hope that, well, maybe it inspires you too. Maybe you've seen something today that you'd like to add to your art collection, and if you have, let me know in the comment section below. I love to hear from you. If there's anything you think I should try, or any particular colours that you think I'd like that you haven't seen me use yet in whichever medium, let me know, because I'm always interested in adding things to my Jackson's wish list, and then when I have enough money or I have enough affiliate credit, I then add to my collection, and then I can share them with all of you. So thank you for watching. I will be back soon. In fact, I'll be back next week with another video. My new upload time is 4 p.m. UK time on a Saturday. I'm going to be uploading once a week to YouTube from now on. I will see you then. Thanks for watching, everyone.